Welcome to the Crafty Mini, and in this one something a bit different. I've got my hands on the Konflict 47 starter set, so we're going to do a bit of an unboxing, have a look and give you my first impressions. So those of you who maybe not heard of the game, although it's getting a lot of traction at the moment and it does look very good. So it's sort of like a bolt-on to the bolt action game, uses a lot of the same rules. You can cross-pollinate units and stuff, but then this has like a weird sci-fi sort of setting about it. And think of like sort of like the way the Nazis are in Hellboy, that sort of thing, with some weird science, and there's these rift gates that are in the world, and technology's changed, and the war is now in 1947, hence the name. But this starter set, so I picked it up because it's a game I've been looking at for a while. We're going to have a look inside. So got the rule book, which we'll look at a bit later on, some transfers, a ton of plastic which we'll go through. This little sprue here has the special US and German commander set of dice and some other bits. Those of you who've played bolt action will recognise a lot of the dice there. There's a few other little things with the rift dice and whatnot. You get some of the suppression markers, which is quite cool as well, because they're, you know, those are, I think they're about 15 quid, and you just get a set of those for free, which is nice. And with all sort of Warlord game stuff, a ton of bases and some really nice miniatures and bits and bobs. So what we're going to do, we're going to go more in depth now on each of the items, have a closer look, and we'll go from there. Right, so starting off with the plastic, so you get a couple of sprues of these ruins, which are quite nice. So you get a little bit of terrain in there, and obviously you can adapt these and add some extra bits. They all look like standard rubble ruins. It's multiples of the same actual sprue, but there's enough variation and bits there you can do lots of things with. So some corner walls and things like that, and you can see there you get 4 of those sprues. But as I say, there's enough difference there, you can add things. It's also really nice to actually have some proper decent quality terrain in a box as well. You can see a close up here, so there's some wooden planks, shot out walls, and with like the concrete all bashed up and stuff. But yeah, really nice little set, and I say the fact you get 4 of them in there, I think that's pretty cool. Warlord games at the moment for me are doing really well with their stuff. The plastics have definitely got better, and as I say, I'm a bit biased for this because I like bolt action anyway. I've got 2 or 3 armies for that now, so that's why I went ahead and got this one, so I can mix and match units and do something pretty cool and sci-fi with them. But yeah, so some nice bits of terrain, and on to the next one. Right, so next up we've got the measure markers and some of the tokens. This is quite nice because the artillery token there, the 2 circles that are joined together, so you get your 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch and 4 inch blast templates, which is quite cool. And a nice little addition. I wasn't expecting this. I thought it was just going to be miniatures and other bits. You got the little dog tags, which are effects and things that you can put onto the miniatures. But yeah, really nice addition. And as I say, along with the suppression markers that you saw earlier and the red plastic, I think it's a really good starter set you are getting, because those are really extras. You don't technically need them when playing bolt action. So it's really nice that they've actually added those in there. Right, so on to the fun stuff, the miniatures themselves. So you get a couple of sprues of these. These are the Stahltruppen, if I remember correctly, and these are the German sort of heavy infantry. Got to say, the sculpts on these are fantastic. So they're, if you imagine them sort of like German souped up super soldiers, sort of like the ones you see in the new Wolfenstein games, and these guys can carry like some seriously heavy weaponry, MG42s on one arm, or yeah, some of the smaller pack guns. They get Panzerfaust for shoulder rockets and things. Really cool. The armour as well, the way it's designed is a nice touch. So there's actual callbacks to actual World War II stuff. So you'll see a closer sort of look at the actual sprue in a second, but on the backpacks there's the 2 little sort of vent exhausts, which are very reminiscent of the exhaust manifolds on the Tiger tank, and then the actual shape of the armour itself it's very similar to what you see on the German armoured cars from that era as well. So it's a nice touch. They're sort of blending the historical in with this more supernatural, and they look like big beefy opponents. You're going to want these on your team as like shock troops or something like that. So next up we have the American infantry in the box set. So these are smaller guys. They're not souped up uber soldiers. But they're this airborne. So I've taken from the parachute regiment, and they've got these little jump packs. And again, you'll see if you pause the video here, and you can see there's some of the weaponry is really cool. So you've got like it's almost like plasma coil technology onto a Thompson. So again, you've still got that World War II weaponry and equipment vibe going through. But it has that, that weird sort of souped up supernatural twisted science sort of feel, and again, like with the German sprue, tons of extra heads, pouches and things like that. You get more of the American soldiers, and I'm guessing from stat lines and things it'll be because the German ones are a bit stronger man for man, but yeah, you get a good unit of these that are going to jump in from the skies and drop into the battlefield. They've all got like really cool sort of winter coats. I've seen some of the paint jobs on these, and with the gloves and things, and it's just a really nice looking miniature. Going to be a lot of fun to paint, and again, it's that I like the way they've twisted you've got the World War II aesthetic that's there, so it feels very bolt action with the weaponry and the uniforms and whatnot, but they've just changed it and tweaked it enough that it stands on its own. So you could have these in like a bolt action army as an elite force, or just purely go for the Conflict 47 stuff as well. Right, so next up we have some of the bigger models. So there's two in this set. This is the German sort of one, and it's called, I think it's a Vogelspinner, I think is how you pronounce it. It's pretty cool. So it looks like one of the old SD armoured cars from the Second World War, and what they've done is they've sort of squished it up a little bit. It's got the similar sort of turret, but then they've put it on these sort of spider walker legs as well. I've seen in some of the other stuff they've got the Thor, which is basically looks like a Panzer IV, I think, again on these legs. So it's a really cool, nice way of twisting up again the sort of aesthetic of the World War II and making it a bit different. It's a nice little miniature. This, I don't think it comes with a base because it's sort of freestanding on the legs, unlike the big walker which we'll see for the Americans in a moment. But yeah, really nice box set, nice miniature. It's almost like I'd say like a reconnaissance vehicle, like you'd get in a bolt action starter set, but again with that weird science sort of aesthetic. Really interesting. The instructions for it don't look too bad, it's not too difficult either, which we'll look at a bit later on. But yeah, really nice mini, and an interesting sort of twist with the fact that the infantry for the Germans are the heavy, sort of hard hitting, and then this vehicle that looks almost like a reconnaissance vehicle. Right, so this is the biggest miniature in the box. This is the M2A5 linebacker. So it's like a medium walker, because there's heavier versions of these I've seen for the other sets that you can buy for the game. And this is a massive bipedal walker, and you got a multiple choice of weapons. It seems like the Americans have got their hands on sort of Tesla type technology, and this is like it's hard to explain. It almost looks like a helicopter cockpit, but then it's a walker miniature with these two massive underslung weapons on these really big chunky legs. There's multiple weapons and extra bits that you can use, and a lot of customization options here, especially in the weaponry department and things like that. Again, we'll look at the instructions and things later on, all the extra bits that are in the box. But yeah, it's an interesting sort of mix. So they've gone. So the Germans seem to be, you get the 6 Stahltruppen, so these are very heavy tank-like infantry with a light vehicle walker, spider walker, and then the Americans are the opposite. So you get lots of infantry that are probably going to be a bit weaker than the Stahltruppen, but you get this big walker instead to sort of balance it out. It's a nice little mix, and a really good addition to the starter set as well. So a ton of really nice plastics in there, loads of detail, and then we're just going to look at the other stuff that you get in the box set. So some pamphlets with some things in, so, you can download some PDF rules and whatnot, and then you've got all the actual instructions for putting the miniatures together. Now this one, I wasn't going to talk much about this, but I've got to say, this is how a miniature instruction manual should be. It's not convoluted. It looks more complicated than it actually is, but it literally shows you these two numbers are the arms for these particular guns, and then it gives you examples of how you can build the miniatures if you want. Really nice, really simple. You get a full colour image as well of the paint jobs for sort of like the official scheme if you want to follow that. Cracking, really good, and all three of the main sets get this. See here the linebacker, the walker, and it's really not. It doesn't look very difficult to actually put together at all. It looks very similar to sort of like a Dreadnought and the old 40k stuff, things like that. But really nice touch, and it shows you the variations of weapons and things like that depending on what you want. And everything looks like it all goes together really well. War Games Atlantic have always had decent plastics, but it recently looks like they're getting better as well. And then here you can see a couple of weapon variations and whatnot. But it looks like it's going to be a fun little miniature to build. That definitely the centerpiece of the box set. So the Vogel spinner, same sort of thing. This one I was a bit worried when I first looked at it, because especially the legs and how they work. But I've got to say it again, really easy. It's just a couple of halves, you glue them together and then pop the 6 legs on, and they've got the ball joint, so if you want to do a cool sort of like diorama base for it, and do like some wreckage, and you can have it sort of crawling over and whatnot. I like as well that they've put in some of the different sort of camo artwork that you can have in it as well. Really nice touch. Same here now with the Style Trooping. So you only get 6 of these in the box because they're much heavier. But again, ton of weapon choices that you can choose from, and again a nice little coloured image there, and you can see how they're actually painted up. So overall, a really nice addition to the box set, and it's very user friendly, which gets a massive thumbs up from me. It's not overly complicated, which is what we want more in our miniature war games. And lastly, the actual rulebook itself. So you get a nice little A5 booklet here, which has got it's actually very in depth, a ton of stuff in there. All the contents tables and things that you'd expect. I'm not going to go massively into the rules and whatnot, or the setting. This is more of just a quick look through, but there's some lovely little artworks. You get some really nice images of the actual miniatures all painted up. They've really gone to town, I will say, with the actual miniatures themselves, because this can also run as a standalone game. You've got enough stuff there if you wanted to just do the weird science and you didn't want to do the mixture with the World War II. You could just do that, and there's tons of units and equipment and things. It's a really nice, well laid out rulebook as well, so you get a little bit of info on each of the major factions, a look at their units, their sort of backstory and lore and things, because you've got this whole, everyone's trying to get hold of the Rift technology that's basically progressing all the scientific advancements in weaponry and things like that. Really nice touch. It's just laid out really well. It's very simple. If you know bolt action, this is not going to be too dissimilar. The only major ones is there's obviously the Rift technology and the Rift dice. That's the big add-ons there, but the way it's sort of laid out seems very, very similar. Extremely well written. I think it's more user friendly as well, because bolt action is I'd say it's a lighter game for a tabletop war game, especially tabletop World War II war game in particular. It's a very light game, and it doesn't look like, on first glance, that they've overly complicated the rules to make this work either. So, which is quite nice. So newbies can get into the hobby much quicker, because there's a lot of people, I can understand, you don't want to play just historical war games. So this is a way in, I suppose. But yeah, overall, really nice box set this is. I think you get more than your money's worth in actual stuff. So like, the ruins, full rule book, all of the miniatures. It's a nice little starter set if you want to split it with a friend, maybe. Or I've just bought it because I've been looking into this game for a while. There's different things, obviously different factions and miniatures, so you could go from scratch and just buy the rule book, but everything in here is everything you're ever going to need to play. You've got all your dice, as I say, all the suppression markers, the tokens and things, all in good plastic. You can paint them and customise them all. The miniatures really aren't difficult to put together. They look pretty simple. The miniatures themselves, my only slight drawback is the 2 unique characters. So you get a German leader and an American leader. They're not in the Wargames plastic, they're in this sort of thermoplastic. The only time I've seen that sort of plastic before was the Batman miniatures game. A bit more of a pain to clean, a few more mould lines, which is a bit annoying, but super glue puts them all together, and you just leave them a little bit longer to dry before you start popping the paint on. Other than that, everything else in the box I think really is top tier, to be honest. They've knocked it out the park, and with it being Warlords Games, they'll hopefully keep this going and back this for a fair, good amount of time, and start releasing more and more miniatures. I am looking at the British stuff at the moment, the Galad heavy infantry. They look cool. But yeah, so that's a bit of a quick video, but that's the overlook of the starter set, 2-player starter set. If you're thinking of getting it, I think it's really good. It looks nice. As I say, I'm a fan of bolt action, so I have got a bit of bias there. It's a good game that's easy to play. But yeah, if you don't want to do World War II historical, but you like the aesthetic of it, maybe give this a go. The rules are very simple. I think it's very user friendly, and it looks like it's going to be a good little game. Moving on. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see me paint some of the stuff for this, I'll happily be recording that. I've already played around with some of the stuff, getting some ideas of colour schemes and things. I think I'm going to lean into that sort of Castle Wolfenstein aesthetic, because I think it suits this a lot, as in like Hellboy as well. But yeah, let us know in the comments, and I'll do videos of this in the future. But thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.